All right, we're now joined by Woody Weatherman of the great Corrosion of Conformity. How's everything?
Hey, it's going great, man. We're just having a blast out here, traveling around the world, doing our thing.
Oh, man, it's a beautiful thing, mixing music and travel and seeing new people and having exciting shows. And we just saw you out here at Knotfest. It was a killer day.
Oh, man, it was.
And I see you got the Phil Anselmo show, the horrorcore coming up. So many great things. Give us a little bit of background. I know you were right there at the beginning, when you formed the group, with Dean and everybody. Tell us about, you growing up in music. Who really did it for you, and who are your heroes, and what age did you start playing guitar?
Right. Well, me and Reed and Mike, we started the band. Heck, it was back in '82, I guess, man.
Wow.
At the time, our heroes, kind of like as of today, man, were the Sabbaths and the Black Flags and the Bad Brains and the Z Tops. It's like
the guys that were going for it.
Yeah, some of the same stuff we still listen to today, But we were kids. We were just like wanted to play stuff as fast and as hard as we could, and I think the secret to have what's kind of kept us going all these years is we just, whenever we're ready to do it, we hit the road, and that's always been our thing, playing live.
Well, yeah, it's an exciting thing to be able to kind of, give it your all and then come back home and recharge the batteries and know when it's time to come out with some new music and hit the roads. Exactly.
Which is, speaking of new music, which is something we're starting to think about right now.
Sure.
Signed a deal with the Nuclear Blast guys and getting ready to do another record, man.
Well, that's a hell of a label, man. You'll be label mates with the Slayers and all that other world, man. That's going to be exciting.
They've got a great roster, man. We're really excited. There's a lot of good people there. So, and it's one of those things, man. It gets time to do another COC record, and we all kind of put everything aside and start getting serious about it,
Yeah, it's funny because in the very early days, a lot of the old metalheads, they were resistant to punk. They were like, well, no, man, we're either this or we're that. And groups like yours obviously said, hell no, man. Everybody's got the energy in their sound, man. There's really very little difference between hardcore and punk and old school metal. There's really more similarities than there are drastic differences.
Well, it kind of got that way, but you're totally right, man. Like in the early days, punk rockers sort of shunned metal, and metalheads kind of shunned punk rock. But in the end, everybody was like, hey, man, heavy music, it's all got some aggression. Let's just go, and a lot of bands came out of that era that are still hanging around today, but at the end of the day, it's good music is good music, man.
Well, that's it. I always say there's two kinds of music: music that moves you and music that doesn't. And if it moves you, who cares how old they are or where they come from or what category you're going to try and put them in?
That is very true, man. That's sage words there.
Well, I know you guys have evolved, over the years, and charted many a different, venture with all your albums and everything. How do you see the evolution of the band? As far as from when you began to now. How do you chart that evolution?
Well, it was like I was saying earlier, man. We started out, we were really kids, man. Just teenagers, and didn't really know what the hell we were doing, and we kind of still don't. We just do it. We just do what we like and what feels good. I think musically, other than just kind of learning how to play the instruments a notch or two better through the years, we just stick with the same goals, man. We started out playing, sped up Sabbath riffs, and now we're playing slowed down Sabbath riffs. We just, the occasional speed riff shows up, but I think if COC, if any of us didn't feel like doing it, or it didn't feel right, or we weren't having a good time, I don't think we would keep doing it. So it's for us, it's about having a good time and trying to create good music.
Well, what's great about a band like yours, like I say, is you can even go away for a little while and kind of recharge the batteries and find that fire again. And you got such a catalog that you can come back years later, and if you got the good music, people forget about the time in between.
Well, that's true, you know, and of course, getting back with Pepper after a few years of not jamming those songs has just been amazing, you know. I mean, being able to go out on tour and play the songs from, you know, those 5 or 6 albums that we've done together with Pepper, and I mean, it's just, it's a blast, you know, getting on stage and people are singing along, and a whole new crop of fans, you know, and of course a lot of the old guys too showing up, but it really, we're super lucky. We're like a lucky band, you know, to be able to continue like this.
Yeah, well, you know, there's been so many changes, obviously, in the business over the years, and, you know, we all kind of sad, you know, missing so many of these cool little record stores, and, you know, obviously a lot of labels have gone, you know, and we're really hoping the next generations really appreciate music like we did growing up and understand there's a value to it, and it takes a lot of time and expertise and, you know, money to put these albums and tours and, you know, videos and everything together. And, you know, it's what message do you have to the youngsters out there that, you know, if you just, you know, if everybody steals music, man, it's really hard to keep this whole industry, you know, afloat.
Yeah, it's you know, that whole thing has changed. You know, it's like people used to go on tour to support the albums that they would put out, and right now it's kind of like the opposite. People put out an album so that they can go on tour, because you know,
right.
Like, you know, people don't expect to make money off albums much anymore. I mean, you know, it's sort of like a labor of love. You put it out there, but it's like you said, you know, a lot of people just grab it off the internet or whatever, and that's kind of you know, sort of become the norm. You know, I think that's one reason you see vinyl has made such a big comeback, because people do want to have stuff they can hold in their hands, you know, and so that's one bright spot in the music, the world of music, you know, is vinyl's made a big comeback, which is cool. You know, I like to listen to my vinyl. I got a big collection, but but yeah, things are different, man. You know, but you know, at the end of the day, man, I see a lot of kids. They're showing up to the shows and they're supporting bands, and I think metal and you know, hard rock and all that whole genre in specific has such a tight audience and such a loyal following that it's going to be there a long time.
Well, yeah, it's important to keep it alive. I mean, music's been around for thousands of years, so it's really, really important to, you know, keep it growing. And there's so many people in that musical community that, you know, depend on those little dollars, you know, trickling down so they can make a living doing what they do, whether they run a record store or run a studio or they're roadies or, you know, stage production, whatever they do. We'd love to see that keep growing. Now, I know you've done some amazing tours over the year. Tell us about touring with Metallica.
Ah, man, I mean, we've been lucky to tour with so many different bands, you know, all everything from, you know, the Ramones, like, you know, to Iron Maiden, to, like you said, Metallica, man. We did like a year and a half, I guess. This is back like in 96, 97, and that was amazing. You know, that was whenever they were touring. They had the stage in the round.
Oh, wow!
The center of the arena.
So how did it take a little while to get used to kind of performing, not facing one direction?
It was a trip, man, because there was no amps or anything on stage. It was just a drum set and us, you know, walking around. And so it was a trip, but, you know, after the first 6 months, I got used to it.
Right. Well, that's great. I know, of course, you've toured with Motorhead. You know, we all revere the great Lemmy, you know, and he's one of the grand masters. What can you say about hanging with Lemmy? You know, hanging with Lemmy, you know, we've done a few tours, you know, on and off through the years with him, but we recently just did that, the motorboat, the cruise thing, you know, they did, Motorhead's motorboat. Sure. A couple months, it's about a month ago, I guess. Yeah. Like that. And Lemmy was doing great, man. You know, I mean, he was still hanging in there, doing his thing. You know, Phil Campbell's amazing. I mean, it's just a great band. You know, it's an honor just to be able to share the stage with them. You know. Well, speaking of mixing metal and punk, I mean, they were right there in the beginning. You know, when they came out, people didn't know what the hell is this, man? Is this punk? Is this metal? What the hell is it? Exactly, and they were one of those bands that could do kind of like we did, man. Through the years, they've taken punk rock bands out with them, and you know, I mean, hell, recently they just did a tour with the Damned over in Europe. So I mean, you know, it's just cool that there's other bands like that out there. Yeah. And what are some of the other newer bands out there that you guys have kind of come across on the road that you think got that spirit?
Yeah, well, we just finished a tour with the Clutch guys, who are, of course, have been around forever. But there was a band called The Shrine on that trip that were really good. California band, Venice Beach Boys, and Saviors, who are getting ready to hit the road with us here coming up this week. We're headed out on a little headline run, and we're bringing Saviors out, and Mothership from Texas is another great band. So if we find a band that we like, we usually try to snag them and take them out on tour with us, whenever possible.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that, they want weaker bands to open them, but I always say, get the best bill you can. Not only put on a great show, but, give you a kick in the ass to keep raising the bar.
Oh, hell yeah, man. We would, yeah. I mean, we're going to take out strong bands, and we don't mind playing with strong bands, We figure everybody needs to stand on their own 2 feet and do their thing,
Sure. Now, what was it all about to get Pepper in the band? I mean, what came about for him to rejoin?
Well, it was something we'd been talking about for years, really, because we did this album called In the Arms of God, and we finished touring with that back in '06, and there was that whole Katrina thing, and the New Orleans deal, which is where Pepper lives, and he kind of had to blaze with that. And as a matter of fact, we were in the middle of a Motorhead tour at that time. And we were getting ready to go over for like 3 months in Europe with those guys. We were just finishing up a North American run, and we had to pull out, and we just never got our stuff back together. Mike and Reed and myself, we wound up doing some 3-piece stuff there for a couple years, put out a couple records with that lineup, and during that time, in the middle of touring, we met up with Down a couple times, and we would jam with Pepper. So it was something we were talking about forever when the time got right and everybody had time and all that stuff. And this year, the time got right, so we're doing it.
Sure. And what can you tell us about the new music that's coming? What are you feeling? What can we expect in the future?
It's kind of in its infancy right now. We've just started talking about it. We're sharing riffs with each other, and it's going to be good stuff, man. We've kind of got our concept for the record, and a lot of bands, they write the record and get done with it before they start coming up with a title and things like that. But we kind of already have that that in the bag, and just our thought process and the riffs and where we're headed. But it's going to be good, man. It's not going to be any horseshit, I promise.
Sure. Can you share the title with us?
No, can't do that.
Under wraps. No doubt. Well, all that you've seen, all that you've been through, what advice do you have to those young bands, young creative people that are coming up today? Obviously a different industry, but what are some of those tips you give them as far as, the level of dedication and sacrifice and perseverance it takes to survive in this?
Well, you got to, man. You got to have a love for it, because you're probably not going to be lying on your wallets anytime soon. But I mean, just get out there. You got to, especially in this day and age, you got to travel. You got to go, man. You got to book the shows. I don't care if you're playing for 10 people or whatever. I know it's tough, but get out there, because you got to play for 10 people before you can play for 1,000. That's for sure.
That's amazing. And tell us about the shows coming up. I know the Horrorcore, the show in New Orleans coming up. Tell us about some of the other stuff about to happen.
We just did New Orleans over Halloween with Mastodon and Clutch, a few days ago. But we're getting ready to.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's in Texas. That's right.
Yeah, we're
San Antonio.
Through Texas, doing the Housecore Horror Fest. Here in a couple days, the first date is in Atlanta. We got a show with Yob and Black Cobra, so really looking forward to that. And then we join up with Brent and Saviors and Mothership, like I was talking about, doing the whole states. Coming up the West Coast, we'll be in L.A., San Francisco. So if you're out, looking to go to a show here in the next 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, look in your local paper and come see us, man.
Well, Woody, it's always a pleasure. Can't wait to see you rock and slay the audiences out here live. Corrosion of Conformity, kicking ass and coming strong. Please keep us rocking.
No doubt, brother. Appreciate y'all.